Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome here to the Flatout Racing Network's coverage of race number 6 of the 63rd season of the Rolling Thunder Gaming Talladega Challenge Series as we're back under the lights at Burnt Screwdrivers
Whoa, hold on.
Raceway.
Am I early? I feel like I'm early. It's not 9 o'clock yet.
It's casual Thursday.
Casual. I didn't sign up for this.
Well, you signed it in your sleep. You were sleep signing. I'm not sure if
Put
that's
that
a
in my-
thing, but you've created it to be a thing now.
Now I'm imagining myself sleeping and doing sign language, acting out my dream in sign language.
You just sign your signature over and over and over in the air for like about an hour.
Practicing my autograph.
Exactly. That's exactly what you're doing. For when you are rich and famous, then you'll have it down to a pat. We hope everybody is excited for tonight's race. It's going to be our third to last race of the regular season. 2 more times here at Burnt Screwdrivers Raceway. Next week will be only the final time for Talladega Super Speedway until we put the playoff grid together. If you don't know already, I'm Seth Cole. He's Michael Norman. We're ready to bring you coverage of tonight's event. Well, your signature says so if you've been forging somebody's signature in your sleep, you got some real problems,
I'm Michael
buddy.
Norman, the winner of the Maverick Cup Series race at Talladega on Tuesday. For any of you, if anyone in this audience was paying attention to that race.
Well, yeah, anyway.
Over there on Johto Network.
And I'm Seth Cole, and I outqualified the man that won the Maverick race on Tuesday here tonight, so...
Says the guy who also DNF'd at that said race.
Also because nobody used the brakes in that race, which even the commentators knew about. Anyway, moving on to tonight. 6 races so far. Sorry, correction, 5 races. I can't even count.
Wow, you can't count. What's
5
up with
races
that?
so far in the books. 5 different drivers have gone to victory lane. Our running streak here for the last 3 or 4 weeks, Michael, has been drivers that have formerly been to victory lane, but it's been a long time since they have, snapping winless streaks. Some of them as many as 6 months, others as many as a couple of years. Donnie Garrett, the most recent driver to go to victory lane. There are a lot of drivers that right now have themselves in a somewhat comfortable position points-wise to potentially point their way into the playoffs, but there's some pretty big names still below that cut line. With 3 races left here in the regular season, let's say you're one of those drivers just below the cut line. Are you approaching any of these 3 races as a must-win situation, or are you looking to just kind of hit that consistent streak to point your way in? And if you're in position for a win, go for it.
Exactly what you just said, right there. If you find yourself, put yourself in position. You want it to be just like a normal race. Try to get them as most points as you possibly can. And if you're in position to try to win the race, then go for it. But it's going to be all about being consistent here. As I'm drafting up behind Tim Nosker right now.
This is the second time this week that number of these drivers. This will be the second time this week that a number of drivers will have taken to Burnt Screwdrivers Raceway. Bare Bones, the Cup Series, ran here on Monday. Jeremy Jeffries.
Your Cup Series.
I was in that race, yes, actually. We won't talk about it, though. But Jeremy Jeffries was the winner of that event. You got to wonder if he might be one of the favorites coming into tonight. He's second in the points, 9 points out of the points lead, but he has not yet gone to victory lane here in season 63. And of course,
Jeremy Jeffries is one for this racetrack. I mean, remember the season that he went on like 3 straight wins at BSR?
I was just about to allude to that. So yeah, you took the words right out of my mouth. Yeah, so this is a track that he really likes. He's obviously very good at positioning himself at this particular racetrack. Not to say he's not at Talladega, it just kind of seems like here at Burnt Screwdrivers Raceway is where he really seems to thrive. And we'll see. I mean, you talked about the consistency that drivers below that cut line would be looking for. Obviously, there's a number of drivers that are in the hunt for the regular season championship as well that pays out as many points as if you won 3 races this season during the regular season. And number of drivers, Brian Schilling, the points leader, the aforementioned Jeffries, Chuck McClure, Bob Seminara. These are drivers that also would be looking for consistency to get them that regular season championship. A few notable drivers not in the field here tonight, one of which is up in a current playoff position. That would be Grant Wesley. Grant came into this race 5th in the point standings, yet to find victory lane in now over a couple of seasons. 31 points out of the points lead, so we'll see him drop a bit in points after tonight. Assuming he more than likely took a provisional. Donnie Garrett, I believe, is not in the field here this evening. Oh, no, he is. He is in the field tonight. We do know he has told us that there are going to be a couple of weeks here during the regular season that he will not be able to race. That's why last week's win was super important to him. So this week we do have him in the field. We'll see in the upcoming 2 final races of the regular season which one of those he's going to be missing. And then
Ulysses Sandoval not here.
yeah, I was gonna mention prior to that. Obviously, we made everybody aware last week when we saw the drivers out here in trucks and not in the Aero 88 cars that they're back in again this week. There's been a whole thing going on with RLM Arena, trying to get everything situated for all the leagues with their backup plans and whatnot. They now, because of having to go into the server through a different method than what they've been used to having season after season, they have a time limit that everybody has to get into the server by. Ulysses Sandoval did not meet that time limit. He was 18th in points. He was, I believe, only 18 points? No, only 8 points below that 12th in the standings cut line, so he definitely had a shot to get into the top 12 this evening. Because he missed the cut line time-wise, he is not able to participate tonight, so he'll have a little bit higher of a task to try and get into a playoff position in the upcoming 2 weeks. Happy hour has concluded. These drivers will be gridding up in just a moment. We're going to have a total of
Are you
40...
following me out on the racetrack?
No, actually. We are looking at the beautiful start-finish line right now as drivers fly on by. So if you see a generic car, that'd be Michael.
If we can get back before happy hour fully closes.
You should pull right down to like below the yellow line on the start-finish line so that way we can see your ugly generic car. Speaking of cars, though, we do have some new cars that will be showing off here in the field tonight. Oh, here goes Brian Lovell sliding on by.
Here I come. I'm coming.
Oh, you're on your way. You better hurry. Come on. Time's running out. There goes Jeremy sliding on by. Where's your generic? There it is. And nope, back up, back up. No, you went out of frame. Come back. Throw her in reverse, Terry. Oh, there you are. Okay. Enter stage left, and it's gone.
Just like I told these boys in the meeting, we don't need anything over the top.
All right.
Good race car, we got a good driver, we got
They'll
a
get
good
themselves gridded up. And your starting lineup tonight, of course, based off of random qualifying draw. We'll have Ron Hagelin sitting on the pole position. He'll share that front row with Tim Nofsker in the 088. Terry Bombard, Glenn Harris, they're going to be back in row number 2. Kelly Causey and Greg Palmer in row 3. Bobby Farrell, Bernie Mobbs in row 4. Richard Martin,
You better hurry get on the track, sir.
Huh?
You better hurry get on the track, Mr. 22nd qualifier.
Nope. They're going to wait. They're going to wait patiently, and they will like it.
I was going to do the pace. I was going to do the pace lap, but I'm like, nah.
You can't pace.
You're right. That's precisely why.
You only know one speed, and that is Burr.
Pick Exco Burr.
Start your engines.
There's the command to fire them up, so they'll get rolling off the grid. We left off with row 4. Your top 10 going to be completed by Richard Martin and Graham McDonald. Last week's winner, Donnie Garrett. He'll be back in row 6 with Hank Middleton. Chuck McClure, Robert Breedlove back in row 7. Josh Metallic, former winner on the season, and Jessica Shelton, they're back in row 8. Row 9, Billy Elliser and Jim Glaude. And then Rodney Sellens and Mark Paglia are going to make up the top 20. Commentators got random qualifying drawn around this area, so it's a little bit different of where drivers below that are going to be starting. So Mike Mangialardi will actually be alongside of Randy Waugh. Come on, Michael. I left you the break and you didn't take it. All right. They'll be back in row 11. Row 12, going to be Joe DeSpirito and Doug Kulik. Row 13, Jeffrey Elliott, Denny Carroll. Brian Schilling, your points leader. He'll be alongside of Bob Seminara, both former winners on the season in row 14. And the top 30 will be Cy Jones alongside of Greg Lovell. Brian Lovell, he'll be back alongside of Jeremy Jeffries. In row 16, row 17, Doug Woolley and John Godfrey. Row 18 will be Ken Roberts, former winner of the season in his own right. Jason Scheck will be alongside of him. Jeff Crivello, Bob Dixon, they'll be back in row 19. And in the final row tonight, bringing up the 40-car field, Brian Rawson and the Batmobile of Tom Dixon.
And let's not forget the most important person who didn't make the start, Mr. Seth Cole.
It's nice of you to think I'm important. It's been a while since I've actually been able to super speedway race with these guys, and as I said, I was in the Bare Bones Racing Series event here at this racetrack on Monday. It felt good to be back double wide, 3-wide racing with these guys. But now they're back to the Aero 88 cars. Remember, we were Aero 88 cars 2 weeks ago. We jumped to the CWS 2015 trucks last week. Now they got to get back used to the hitbox of these Aero 88 cars here tonight. As Ron Hagelin gets us set for another 66 lapper. 3 races remain until the playoff grid here is put together. Flagman making us wait just a little bit, and now it is waving. We're underway in race number 6 with Nosker getting a nice jump. Don't think he's quite going to be able to get clear there, though, as they head into turn 1.
Flagman was waking us?
I was hoping you didn't notice that.
Was he waking us when September ends?
He was waking us up before they go green.
Wake me up before we go.
Hagelin jumps up to the middle line there. Terry Bombard says thank you very much. He'll take the inside going into 3 with help from Kelly Causey. Double wide all the way back through the beginning portion of this pack. Single file near the rear of the field, and inside line prevails through 3 and 4. Terry Bombard in that Camel Thunderbird. Looks like he's going to lead the first lap of the evening. Really close around that 12th in the standings cut line. Remember, the top 12 in the point standings will make it into the postseason, regardless of if they have a win or not. Right now, Brian Rawson is the 12th driver in standings. Terry Bombard, he is 19th in points, but he's only 10 points below that cut line. It's that close for 6, 7, 8 positions.
Is he the 12th man?
No, he's the 19th man right now. Wait, or are you talking about Brian? If we're talking about Brian, then yeah, he's the 12th man.
Oh, do you understand what that reference is?
I think so.
Seattle Seahawks.
Okay, then I don't get the reference.
Okay.
The only thing that happens in Seattle is rain. Three wide further back. Greg Palmer up on the top there with Hank Middleton, Robert Breedlove, and others. Now Ron Hagelin's going to move up to that outside line. Kelly Causey will be the leader of the middle line now, with Terry Bombard and the other drivers on that inside line. Got to be loving this, because as we've seen in the past, when they start getting 3 wide, inside line usually seems to prevail.
Look at this. I got me some apple pie.
A lot of people actually eat apple pie, but I guess you've got something different.
I got apple pie.
No, you say apple pie.
Apple pie.
How do you spell that?
Pie.
P-A-H, pie. Chuck McClure now going to go to the middle line with help from Josh Metallic. McClure 3rd in points. Still looking for his first victory on the season. Of course, the defending champion coming into this season. Multi-time champion of the series. Now Donnie Garrett moves up there in front of him. Josh Metallic, a former champion in his own right. And a former winner this season. 7th in points coming into this one. I got the opportunity here too. Want to give a big shout out to Jeremy Jeffries. Remember last week we were kind of makeshift, kind of going as we could with the information we had, with all the issues that were going on server-wise. Jeremy Jeffries tirelessly has worked the last week and a half on calculating points for all the current series running and everything, and because of him, we've got the point standings here tonight to be able to keep you guys aware of what the situations are of drivers currently above the chase cut line, below the chase cut line. So big shout out there to Jeremy Jeffries putting in the effort there for that. He's had to manually do the points because the server that is used for these races actually had a program where it would calculate the points for them, and that's currently not working. So big shout out there to Jeremy. Imagine we've had 5 races, 5 different winners, so we've yet to have a multi-time winner on the season, and look who's out in front now. Last week's winner, Donnie Garrett. Led the last lap 1 week ago at Talladega. He'd love to lead the last lap here tonight at Burnt Screwdrivers Raceway, and I mean, as of right now, he's in tonight's race. Even if he misses the next 2 weeks, I don't think Donnie would lose enough points to fall out of the top 20 in the standings. But if he wins a second race here tonight on the season, I think that's pretty much an automatic lock into the postseason.
Yeah, I agree with you.
And Chuck McClure with the drop down to the bottom. It's a ways back there to Tim Nosker. I don't think that's going to work for the 17. Oh, maybe it will. Metallic's going to go down there with him. And McClure's going to get the run through the tri-oval by half a car length. So that actually did work out to his benefit. I was going to say I didn't think it was necessarily going to work because Monday night a number of drivers tried that kind of a move. Kind of, not necessarily a slide job, but kind of close to it. You drive it in deep, try and slide up to the middle line. And a couple of drivers tried it and ended up going towards the back of the pack. So Chuck fortunately had a teammate there, is thinking a little antsy towards the rear of the field. That was Cy Jones, the Sunoco machine. Out of shape a couple of times there off of turn 2.
This apple pie is really dry.
Oh my!
I didn't expect that.
Yeah, I try.
Shut up. We're going 3 wide.
3 wide.
All right, that's it. We have to do the rest of the broadcast like that.
That's a horrible idea.
That's a horrible idea.
Okay, that wasn't even. Wow.
Shut up.
That's what we call, folks, clutching at straws.
Yeah, just a little bit.
We have had a driver that has lost the draft, Tom Dixon, in the 45. He is currently about half a lap down right now, so he'd love to see a yellow to be able to get caught back up here. As we are 3x3x3 around the 7th position right now. That's Mark Paglia now up on the top, the Quality Care Dale Jarrett throwback. Jeffrey Elliott right behind him, Bob Seminara.
I'm trying too much now.
You are.
Where's Randy Y, Luigi?
First time he said it tonight, even though I set him up for it in the starting grid and he didn't pay attention. Although you probably were out getting your apple pie. I'm sorry, pie.
No, that was when I was actually in the bathroom.
You got your apple pie from the bathroom?
No, I had to go to the bathroom.
I was going to say, that's a conversation we could have under a yellow flag.
Why do you keep your apple pies in the bathroom? Because it's the best place to store them. You ever just taken a shower and get a sudden craving for apple pie?
I've actually heard of people that eat while taking a shower. I don't know. I don't understand why, but I have heard that is a thing.
I don't even want to know.
I mean, what's something you could eat that like requires water? I don't know. Let us know in the comments if you eat in the shower.
or your opinion on it, actually.
I mentioned about the fact we have a couple of new schemes in the field here tonight. One of them solidly inside the top 10 right now, Mike Mangialardi in the 029 with the Napa colors on his Ford Thunderbird. And if I can look at the grid here, he's quite a ways back, but we'll see if we can find him here. Of course, we've got the Wiley Cody tribute. Yes, that's actually how his last name is pronounced. I've been mispronouncing it all this time. But whoa, yikes!
So his
Jim
nickname. So his nickname really is Wiley Coyote.
Yes, Wiley Cody. Yep. But there is the Acme Products number 4 of Brian Schilling with Wiley Coyote featured on there in tribute to Ron Wiley Cody.
You better be careful there for Schilling, because bad things happen to Wile E. Coyote all the time. Don't want to
Brian
jinx yourself.
Schilling, super genius.
Allow me to introduce myself. My name is Coyote. Wile E. Coyote. Genius.
And a couple cars back is another new scheme that we're going to see here more than likely for the entire month of October, because October Breast Cancer Awareness Month. So Jeremy Jeffries breaking out the pink Valvoline machine here. Right now he and Brian on that inside line trying to work their way up towards the front. You can hear the idling engine up ahead of Tom Dixon, so he's probably about a lap, maybe less than a lap from going -1. We are also starting to approach potential green flag pit stops.
Well, I still got 5 laps, give or take.
So, as I said, approaching.
I still got.
You know
5
how I
laps.
know we're approaching it, Michael?
Because you raced in the same predicament?
No, because everybody up here at the front's down the inside line.
Yeah, that's true.
If we weren't close, they wouldn't be covering that bottom. This is an indicator right here that these drivers are getting themselves set up. I mentioned about the fact that there's some pretty big names that are down below the 12th and standings cut line. I see quite a few of them actually up here towards the front, inside of the top 5, top 10. We already documented about Terry Bombard. Right behind him is that Petty Blue 92 of Bobby Farrell. He comes into this one 17 points below the cut line in 22nd. And behind him, Rodney Sullins, who is 24th in the standings, a total of 19 points below the cut line. So 3 drivers right there that really need good points day. Even a win would certainly help out their efforts in making it into the playoffs. Actually, Tim Nofsker falls into that category as well, running in P3. Nofsker is 17th in points, 7 points below the 12th in the standings cut line.
By 2. Roughly, I want to say that the top 5 really single file, and that usually the way we see packs happen is that single file kind of breaks away.
Yeah, but as of right now, because the inside line is taking, yes, the shorter way around the racetrack, but the line where there's going to be a lot more checkup as well, I think that gives the opportunity for that second lane to still stay in touch, if not maybe move up a little bit in terms of positioning. I mean, Kelly Causey back there, he's right now alongside of Donnie Garrett. That'd be for 6th position. And you can see right there, visibly, he is gaining ground. He's now alongside of Rodney Sullins through the tri-oval. That outside line, because of the checkup on the inside line, they're gaining maybe a car length and a half every time they hit a straightaway, whether it's on the front or the back. So a little side to side there out of Terry Bombard in the 10 in that 4th position. Looks like it has since settled out. Keeping an eye towards the back of the pack there, because the STP number 143 of Bob Dixon, usually one of the first ones we see dive onto pit road. Speaking of dive, somebody got the apron back there. That might have been Demar. Looks like he's good. Had his car halfway down on the apron there through the center of 3 and 4.
You're on the apron in the center.
Am I the digger cam?
Maybe.
I wish they would bring that back. That was actually, it was like the most useless camera, but it was actually a fun camera angle. Now they have the camera that's on the right side of the rear spoiler, and you can't see anything. It's blocked by the C-pillar post. I don't really understand that camera, aside from the fact that maybe you get an idea of how close they run to the wall, but I don't know. I don't see much of the point of the camera. I'm sure people like it, but me personally, not as much of a fan. Chuck McClure has led the last 8 laps. He'll have led his race high 9th lap when they come around here to the stripe. he will obviously be one of the first ones onto pit road with using the most fuel under this run, being out in clean air, not having the benefit of the draft. So I would assume he's going to be on pit road, if not this coming lap, the next lap. Josh Metallic has led 4, so he will more than likely be on pit road, maybe the same lap as the 17. And Terry Bombard, Bobby Farrell, and Donnie Garrett, along with Ron Hagelin, our pole sitter, have all led 1 lap so far here this evening. I'm seeing some radios light up. Let's see who's making the dive onto pit road this time by. Is it our race leader? Yes, it is. And a whole host of others. Over a dozen drivers on pit road, and one spinning, that's Richard Martin. He's going to get into Hank Middleton. Middleton is back up on the racing surface, but there's no oncoming traffic, so there may not necessarily be a yellow. We're still green.
There is no yellow. There is no yellow.
Hank's trying to get the thing going again. Demar now gets his car righted. With no cars in the vicinity on the racetrack, there will be no yellow. We're going to stay green. Bob Dixon made his pit stop the lap prior. Terry Bombard inherits the lead. We'll probably see this group coming to pit road this time by Bombard, Sullins, Causey. Let's see if they can get on safely. Front part of the group does.
Oscar, first car off of pit road.
Contact at the back. Brian Rawson had the early pit stall. Jeremy Jeffries was to his inside, and they're going to make contact. That's going to slow both of those drivers up. Brian going to have to back up to his pit stall. Hopefully they still service him. Yep, looks like they will. And to your point, there's Nofsker, who more than likely is going to inherit the race lead once everything is cycled around, but pit road playing havoc with a number of drivers. Richard Martin, Hank Middleton, Brian Rawson, Jeremy Jeffries, all with issues there during this cycle. And that's just what we saw on the entry to pit road. There may have been other things that happened while on pit road or leaving pit road. And we'll try and figure out the fallout of all of that once everything cycles around. That was Nofsker's first lap lead of the evening right there. Whoa, Terry Bombard moving up the track there in front of the up-to-speed cars. You saw Metallic had to go down below the yellow line in order to avoid. That broke these guys up quite a bit. They'll now make their way around the 43 of Richard Martin. I believe this is actually going to put Richard Martin a lap down, as the front going to try and get themselves organized back up. Nofsker, Metallic. Now Bobby Farrell moves to 3rd, Donnie Garrett to 4th, and McClure into 5th. Here comes Josh going to the top. A couple of drivers have now made their way up here inside of the top 10 after that cycle of pit stops. How about the 41 of Denny Carroll? 4th on that outside line. And we saw Brian Schilling kind of mired back in traffic around the mid-20s when we checked in with his brand new paint scheme. He's now on the outside of the top 10 knocking on the door. Same for the 23 of Doug Hewlick and the 56 of Jeffrey Elliott. Jessica Shelton also lingering there, just outside of the top 10. Jess coming into this race 6th in points. Potentially can move up into the top 5 in the standings with Grant Wesley not in the field here tonight. Same deal for Josh Metallic, who's been up in the top 5 all night long. So after the fallout of the pit stops, a few drivers that had some issues that lost the lead pack would include Ron Hagelin, Bob Dixon, Doug Woolley, Cy Jones, Jason Scheck, Jeff Crivello, Jeremy Jeffries, Brian Rawson, Hank Middleton, and Richard Martin. All those drivers I mentioned, with the exception of Martin, are on the lead lap right now. Demar is the only car, he's one of 2 cars 1 lap down, the other one being Tom Dixon. We saw Tom get lapped under green prior to the pit stop. So those two would be in the lucky dog positions if we were to get a yellow. However, Hank Middleton is not that terribly far ahead. You saw him right there on the same straightaway as race leader Tim Nofsker, so he's only a lap or two away from being put -1 himself.
The lane prevailing here. As you can see, Nofsker on and off pit road, or he got off pit road first, and as you could see, the momentum carried him around in front of Metallic and others. I'm not sure who came on the pit road as the race leader. I don't think it was Nofsker.
Chuck. It was McClure.
Oh. Something amiss with that pit stop there. Picker didn't get him out fast enough.
Which is interesting because, you know, if it were a yellow flag pit stop, you would think that more than likely Nofsker would have a good chance of coming off of pit road the leader because he had the number 2 pit stall. Chuck McClure had the number 13 pit stall. But under a green flag pit stop, a lot of drivers will say, you know, it's great to have the good starting track position if you qualify up at the front. It's not so helpful as far as the launch out of your pit stall when it's under green, because the drivers that are now already up to 55 miles per hour behind you, they've got better momentum heading into turn 1, getting ready to merge onto the racetrack. It takes you a little bit longer to get up through the gears. So yeah, a little bit surprising there that Nofsker was actually able to win the battle off of pit road with him having a pit stall further up to the exit of pit lane. We saw Chuck McClure, the whole shuffle when they were trying to get around Terry Bombard, that really messed him up. He was more than likely going to cycle out to 3rd place, and he is now back outside. Well, I think he might actually be outside of the top 10 now. The scoring had him last time by in 13th position.
All right, take us a quick rundown of our top 10, Seth.
Right now, according to scoring, Tim Nofsker, your race leader. Josh Metallic in 2nd. Denny Carroll up here in 3rd, looking for his first Talladega Challenge victory. Kelly Causey right now 4th. Mark Paglia in the 5th position. 6th place would be Greg Palmer. 7th, Doug Kulik. Jessica Shelton taking a look for that 7th spot. She's right now in 8th. 9th place would be Randy Waugh. And 10th, I believe last time by scored, was Jeffrey Elliott in the 56.
Well, as they're heading down the back straightaway now, Randy Waugh has moved up to the 10th position, or moved down, excuse me, to the 10th position. But it's because, look, we got a couple drivers running the outside lane, but now have moved down to the inside lane. Jessica Shelton now leading that inside lane, but there's only 5 cars on that inside lane while everyone else is in that middle lane, Seth.
You gotta wonder if more drivers will see that inside line is forming and take the bait, go down there as well. Most drivers seem committed to the middle line, but there's so many drivers in that middle line right now. The stack up I talked about that the leaders would have been dealing with near the end of that first green flag stint. They're dealing with it now up in that middle groove. You see a lot of movement right there off of turn number 2. Mentioned about the fact last couple of weeks it's been about snapping winless streaks. Metallic kicked it off. Seminara followed up there. Ken Roberts as well. Donnie Garrett. All snapping rather lengthy winless streaks here in the Talladega Challenge Series. I'm looking up here at a number of drivers that are looking for that first win of their Tally Challenge career. We already mentioned about Denny Carroll, but how about that 8 of Glenn Harris? He's currently holding down a position inside of the top 10. I believe he was 9th last time by, and you talked about Randy Waugh. He's not been to victory lane either in this series. So there's a few drivers that they've got a winless streak, not necessarily back to their previous victory, but having never won here, I think you could still consider that a winless streak, right? You make the number of starts, haven't found victory lane, that's still a winless streak that could be snapped. So I'm taking a look here, trying to see who so far would have been the biggest mover of this race. It would have to be the 41 of Denny Carroll. The random qualifying draw had him situated, rolling off the grid in 26th. And he has gone up 23 spots into the 3rd position here, nearing the halfway point. This was something that we saw the last couple of seasons too, Michael, right down the home stretch of the regular season where it came down a lot more to execution on pit road rather than survival in multi-caution, multi-wreck races. Races tended to usually trend green a lot more often, and so drivers really had to have the deciding factor be their ability to safely get on and off of pit road. It's almost looking very similar to that here tonight, where we've already had one round of green flag pit stops, and we're going to be, what, about 9-10 laps away from maybe seeing a second round of pit stops. And we've already seen some drivers make some mistakes here in this one tonight.
I'll have to wait and see.
Oh, we mentioned about the fact that we didn't have Grant Wesley in the field. He's in our YouTube chat. How you doing, Grant? Says, wish I could be there. Got called to work, ironically, only an hour or so from the real Talladega.
Yeah, maybe he'll be there for the weekend.
You know what? You know what Grant should do?
Go to the race?
This is what I think he should do. He should go to Talladega Superspeedway. He should, in a street car, make 66 laps around there, and then send the export to RTG so they can give him the points for winning.
Exactly.
Not sure they'd count that, but it's an idea. Oh, we got a wreck! Chuck McClure around the middle of the pack. Bobby Farrow collected as well. Field is frozen, so they're going to have to figure out who is ahead of who there with 3 wide, about 3-4 rows deep. Nofsker was clearly the leader, though.
A couple laps shy from halfway.
Yep, right around that halfway point. First yellow of the night.
Look at who that's going to save.
About a dozen drivers.
Brian Rawson, Jeffrey Cavello back here.
Sheck, Jones, Breedlove, Bob Dixon, Hagelin, Woolley, McDonald, Elliser.
McClure. Was he a part of that wreck?
Yes, he was. Yeah.
Oh, I was like, wait. I was like, huh.
The 2 drivers I saw involved, and there may have been others, but the 2 drivers I specifically saw were Chuck McClure and Bobby Farrell. I thought they were going 4 wide back there, and I realized now it was to avoid a wreck.
It was a stack up. Whenever you go back to look at it, it was a stack up that happened. Probably some bumper grab between the 77 and the 4, and then when everything started backing up, the 92 just kind of turned around Chuck. The rest of them had it saved.
Here's a look at it. As Michael alluded to, watch up ahead the goldish 77 and the white and red 4 on the inside line. There's the bump. There's the stack up. Glenn Harris might have gotten a little piece of the 92, but not much. He's going to be able to just slip through. And it's so tough when that stack up takes place on the inside line because it accordions up and that 3rd, 4th, 5th car in line might not necessarily get the message. They do actually communicate when there is a checkup and what lane it's in so that way drivers are aware, but sometimes it might just be a little too late. Yeah, you saw it right there. Both Farrell and McClure making contact with the front end of their race cars into the outside wall. We'll have to see if they have any aero damage or not. And then right back there in the foreground, you can see that is a number of drivers that were on the tail end of the lead lap, loving to see that smoke lingering just off of turn 2 because that meant that they were going to be able to stay on the lead lap and be back up with this lead group. This caution, however, does not put us in the fuel window to make it the rest of the way. It, I believe, though, would put us in, I think, the window to make it on one more stop. Tim Nofsker going to win the battle off of pit road. I believe we had a couple of drivers stay out here under this yellow, looking to get some lap-led bonus points. I believe Jason Sheck led this most recent lap. He stayed out, Crivello stayed out, Brian Rawson stayed out, so Nofsker, when they pit, will re-inherit the top position. Nofsker, so far, tied with Chuck McClure for most laps led here tonight at 12. But halfway through tonight's race, we're working only our first caution of the night. We're going to step aside for an FRN race break as they settle out the pit stops here under this caution period. Be back for the restart from Burnt Screwdrivers Raceway. Keep it right here on FRN. Lights out atop the Wile E. Cody tribute pace car. And Tim Knopfsker will get ready to get us back under green. You saw there during the FRN race break, the two lucky dogs going around getting their laps back. The 2 of Hank Middleton, the 43 of Richard Martin. So we will have, out of the full 40 cars still running, we will have 37 of them on the lead lap. Greg Lovell, Denny Carroll, and Tom Dixon will be a lap down. I'm not 100% certain how the 880 or the 41 lost a lap. Unless... I was going to say that Maybe they ended up getting speeding penalties under that green flag. That's maybe a possibility. I didn't see that on scoring of them getting penalized, but they are both one lap down. And you saw there as well at the 1 to green a couple of drivers that were up inside the top 10 and a number of drivers at the rear of the field coming down pit road to top off the fuel tank, including our winner from a couple of weeks ago, Bob Seminara. Remember, Seminara's locked into
stop.
He's locked in via a win, so, you know, you're giving up track position, but might be a play to go for a second victory on the season. You can't save enough fuel to make it the rest of the way, but you certainly could, maybe with topping off there at the 1 to green, make it where you have to take on less fuel on the final pit stop than the other drivers up at the front.
Quite possible.
For those wondering, that potential final pit stop would happen somewhere in the vicinity of lap 53 to lap 56, depending on when these drivers were last on pit road under this caution. Our only caution so far here tonight. I think the topping off on fuel, it's the difference between taking a can and a half to get to the end of this race and taking on just a can. So it'd be a half can difference in terms of the split strategies that we have right now. Who's up in third? You get to say his name, Randy Waugh.
Luigi.
Having a great run right now. Right behind Josh Metallic. Mark Paglia there in the 4th position. Greg Palmer in 5th. Been a while since Greg been to the victory lane. I believe early on in season 61, I think, was his last trip to victory lane. Very early on in that season. Jeffrey Elliott to his inside in the 56 Toyota Camry. Doesn't have the help down there, though, and doesn't have the momentum on the straightaway. Things getting a bit broken up midway to the rear of the field. Top 5, 6 all single file. First time, well, not quite into the top 5, but right there is Joe DeSpirito in the 24. Joe coming into this one 8th in the point standings, 50 points out of the points lead, and more importantly, 18 points ahead of the 12th in the standings cut line. Right behind him, Bernie Mobbs in the 31. Bernie 9th in the point standings. He is 9 points to the good above the 12th in the standings cut line. Couple of drivers that we'll keep an eye on, see how quickly they can work their way back up to the front of the field. Chuck McClure, who was involved in that caution, the wreck over in turn 2. And Jeremy Jeffries, who had the pit road incident along with Brian Rawson. Rawson elected to stay out. He did lead a lap under caution, pitted at the 1 to green, so he restarted deep in the field. See how long it takes for those drivers to get up to the front.
The inside lane just really died out.
They've got numbers down there, but it's just not doing them any good because there's a third line as well alongside of them being led by Greg Lovell, who is a lap down right now. He and Denny Carroll currently in the lucky dog positions. 3 drivers, 1 lap down. Tom Dixon, the 3rd driver. Now the inside line might have something here. They had a bit of momentum down the back straightaway. Donnie Garrett, Doug Kulik, Rodney Sullins, Kelly Causey. They can get a really good run through the turns, but then right here on the straightaway is where they lose ground. Watch how Bernie Mobbs is going to pull back alongside, maybe even edge out the 77 going into turn 1. Garrett's going to gain that ground back and then some when they come down here into turn 1. He passes the 24. He's now alongside of the 22. But again, once they get to the back straightaway here, watch the ground that they lose. 22 gets clear again. 24 gets clear. Back alongside of the 31. So he gains 2 car lengths through the corner and loses them right back when they get to the straightaway. That's what makes it so difficult to be able to make passes here on that inside line. That's why you see a lot of drivers jump up to that third lane, because it has a little bit more momentum. The only problem is when they're 3 wide, then both the inside and the extreme outside line stall out, and the middle line gets the momentum. Joe DeSpirito now, though, going to lead that inside line. Try and see what he can do in the number 24. He's looking for his first win on the season. Three wide.
Look at them going around. Now they're all abandoning the lanes.
Doug Hewlick and Greg Lovell with a nice move there on the top of 2. They're going to put Greg Palmer in the middle. Look at Tim Nofsker, Josh Metallic there as well. They're going to have to move up, or else they're going to get sucker hold.
Here comes Waluigi to the inside. He's going to take the lead.
Yes,
He's going
he
to lead
is.
this lap. Now, Seth, should he jump up to the outside lane?
Honestly, I don't think so.
Not until the backstretch, maybe, when they get the run.
I don't even think then. I don't think that outside line's going to get enough momentum. They're 3 wide, and the inside line's going to gain the advantage because of that. Ooh, wow, they're really shoving, trying to make that third lane work. Greg Lovell got a little out of shape, got a bump from Brian Lovell. Robert Breedlove's going to abandon that line. He'll move down to the middle. And it looks like now the 23-880 N043 will also jump down to the middle groove. That's going to leave Ken Roberts and Chuck McClure on an island of their own on that top line. Meanwhile, as all this is happening up at the front, you got a little train of cars at the rear of the field. Bobby Farrell, Glenn Harris, Richard Martin, Ron Hagelin. I think they're just riding right now. They're in a little single file formation at the rear of the field, seeing all the shuffling going on up ahead of them, and probably feeling that we may be close to seeing our second caution of the night. And the way they're racing right now, I mean, that dreaded second caution could end up being a big one, starting right up inside of the top 10. I mean, look at the movement taking place here around the 28 of Mark Paglia. A lot of drivers, when they see a lane open on the bottom, they're taking it. So Robert Breedlove right there filling the hole between Mike Mangialardi and Bob Dixon. Hewlick not giving up on that third line. Along with Greg and Brian Lovell. Woo, Brian Schilling loose there. 4th car in that third lane. Jim Glaude gets the apron down the inside of the racetrack. These cars are not driving happy right now. There's a lot of movement going on. We saw Bob Seminara pit from inside of the top 10 at the 1 to green there under that yellow, and he has since been able to work his way up to almost inside of the top 10. Now he'll go alongside of Bob Dixon. I believe that is for the 10th position, so he's done a nice job of pretty quickly working his way back up to the position that he was in prior to coming to pit road at the 1 to green. And of course as well, we talked about all these drivers that are former winners vying for the regular season championship, but also looking to be the first repeat winner on the season, like Brian Schilling, Seminara, Metallic, Garrett, Roberts.
Well, Seth, the pit window is going to open, by the way, this time by.
Inside the fuel window, yep.
And it's like you said before, right? You know, so a lot of people like to run it to the end so they don't have to take a lot. Well, at the very beginning, and they still have a lot of fuel left, they don't have to take a lot either.
I think, They've got 9 more laps, at least 9 more laps before our drivers would have to absolutely hit pit road right now.
So what are you thinking? If they were to pit now, it'd be what, a can to a can and a half, give or take?
Yes, so for those that came to pit road on the first lap of caution, I'm pretty sure they'd have to take a can and a half. Granted, I saw a number of them try to save fuel under those pacing laps.
Oh, somebody's coming to pit road.
That was Jeffrey Elliott in the 56. But he's coming in by himself, which isn't ideal, so he's probably banking on a caution here, where then he would be able to cycle out to the lead when everybody else would come to pit road. But going back to the point I was going to say, for those that pitted on the first lap of caution, they'd have to more than likely take on a can and a half of fuel. Drivers like Bob Seminara, who pitted at the 1 to green, I think they might be able to get away with only taking on 1 can of fuel. Not much in it, but I think that would be the situation.
Like the situation from Jersey Shore?
I'm just going to say yes, because
You've never seen that show.
Nope.
Look at the outside lane. There's not a lot of cars in it, but it's still getting some momentum.
Only one that's been to the Jersey Shore is Nick.
Still also a show.
Drivers up at the front, they're seeing that outside line moving. Saw Donnie Garrett look like he thought about moving up there. Stays in line behind Joe DeSpirito, who continues to push Randy Waugh.
BG. Now they're thinking about moving up to the outside lane too.
Looking, doesn't commit, stays low.
Got more numbers on the outside lane now.
And Shelton's got a big run here through the tri-oval. Donnie Garrett's not going to be able to get up in front of it. Does Joe DeSpirito move up? That's Jeffrey Elliott in the 56, so he didn't get the yellow when he needed it. He was hoping for the caution to come out about 2 laps ago. Now he's going to follow a lap down, and it's very unlikely that when or if these drivers come to pit road, if it's under a green flag pit stop, it's going to be unlikely that Jeffrey Elliott would cycle back around in the lead pack with the fact he spent those last 3 or 4 laps running by himself.
Whoa!
Oh, and they're going to wreck. Oh, this is going to be a huge one in turn 4 onto the front straightaway. Caution is out. And the whole front stretch near the entrance of pit road is littered with race cars.
We knew there had to be a big one somewhere.
Yep.
This is going to take fuel strategy right out of it. And this is the caution that the 56 needed. He just came a little bit too late.
Yep. Well, he is going to at least get the lucky dog because he was just put a lap down.
Yeah, but he still doesn't get all that track
Yeah,
position.
he loses
still
a
would have to line
ton
up
of track position. Jessica Shelton, after that, inherits the race lead. And luckily for Randy Waugh, he was able to keep that thing under him and not spin out. It was Kelly Causey who spun out, running around the 6th, 7th position. I was surprised when the 21 actually was down the apron. I don't know if he got a late bump into the corner or what actually happened.
It might have been just a simple, you know how you get the suck up from the coming off the corner. You don't really want to lose that momentum. And I feel like whoever it was that was right behind him that bumped him might have just did it just slightly too early.
Nice save right there, but then you see the double zero go around.
Now, do you think DeSpirito would be taking the claim for that wreck?
I think so if he's staying out, yeah. Now, I'm going to be honest with you. This was the big one of the night so far, but I see very, very little contact. There were a lot of drivers that spun around, but there was nobody that I saw that took any massive hits.
If Jess's pit crew can get her out.
Let's look at the double zero here of Kelly Causey. Does he... Oh, yeah, it's okay. I saw him get a little airborne. His right side tires did come off the ground.
Oh, Bob Seminara, Donnie Garrett, and Jess. Or these two came out first. I wonder if they took a little bit less fuel than Jess did.
Well, remember, Seminara, I know for certain, Garrett maybe as well pitted at the 1 to green, so they would have been able to take on less fuel on this final pit stop.
Garrett shut his car off as he's coasting on the backstretch.
Oh, so either doesn't feel like he's safe, feels like he still needs to have a little bit more insurance, or it
He's
just
just
could be a
doing it.
case of habit.
Yeah. All of us race car drivers do it under caution, even if we don't really need to.
Even if you don't realize you're doing it. You saw right there, Brian Schilling, Chuck McClure, they were the last lucky duo to get through this wreck. Everybody else behind, for the most part, pretty much were involved. And
Hey,
one
Seth.
driver that's actually got his way through, I believe, was Danny Carroll in the 41. I believe he and Greg Lovell are going to get the free pass.
Hey, Seth. So, you missed the dad joke, so I'm about to tell you one right now, okay?
Okay.
It says, if anybody gets a message from me about canned meat, don't open it.
It's spam.
spam.
Already heard that one. Don't see a Bulldog floppy anywhere on the 21 car. I know he's got the Alabama sponsorship. I don't think there is a Bulldog on the car. Let's jump back and find that 21 of Randy Wall. There he is. Oh, there might be a Bulldog on the hood. Hang on. Nope. It's an Elephant.
Sorry, I did not hear you as I was looking at something up here, so that joke went completely over my head.
Good, because it wasn't a dad joke.
Well, whatever it was.
We were scouting for someone in our YouTube comments. That's what was going on.
Oh, okay.
Tom Dixon staying out here. I wonder if he might take the wave around. I mean, he can't make it on fuel, but if he's able to catch a quick yellow, I think, let's see, they were going to have to make the pit stop within the next, I think it was 3 to 4 laps. Around lap 56, I think, was the number I had where they were going to have to pit if it was under green. So yeah, if he can get a quick yellow here, wave around might be the call. If he has to pit under green, he'll have to pit under green, but I like this strategy.
From who?
The 45. And an update, we saw the 56 of Jeffrey Elliott get lapped just prior to the yellow. I thought Jeffrey was going to be one of the lucky dog drivers. He is not. He's going to remain 1 lap down. You see Greg Lovell and Denny Carroll up there on the outside. So either one of two things happened there. Either Jeffrey Elliott was involved in the wreck and I didn't see it, or Denny Carroll and Greg Lovell were able to get around him, though we saw Denny actually behind the wreck when it occurred. So I guess the 56 of Elliott was involved in the wreck, and so therefore he would be ineligible for the free pass. So he will remain a lap down. Tried to play a little bit different strategy, pitted right when the fuel window opened, all by himself, and got the caution about a lap and a half too late. There's the lights out. Lovell and Carroll will go around, get their laps back. Bob Seminara will get us back under the green, looking for his 2nd win on the season. Donnie Garrett will pull up alongside him, so our 2 most recent winners on the season will share the front row. Jessica Schulten, Tim Knopfsker, who's led the most laps, will be in row 2. Mark Paglia, Doug Kulik, row 3. Rodney Sowens, Greg Palmer, row 4. And then Brian Lovell and Brian Schilling are going to be the completion of your top 10. Lap leaders so far here tonight. Tim Knopsker's led the most, 18 circuits out in front. Chuck McClure, the only other driver that has led double-digit laps. He's got 12 circuits out in front. 8 laps led so far tonight for Randy Waugh.
Luigi.
4 laps led for Terry Bombard. 2 apiece so far for Bob Seminara and Donnie Garrett. Same for Josh Metallic. Obviously, Seminara will lead more than that here when he gets us back under the green. And then 1 lap led apiece for Jessica Shelton, Rodney Sullins, Brian Rawson, Joe DeSpirito, and Jason Scheck, who has taken his car back behind the wall and will finish in the 40th position. The only driver to this point out of the race. 39 drivers still running, 37 on the lead lap. Restart going to be taking place just outside of 10 laps to go. Want to remind everybody we're in the home stretch of the regular season here for the Talladega Challenge Series. Next week we're back at Talladega Superspeedway, second to last race of the regular season. Getting down to crunch time for drivers to either point or win their way into the playoffs. 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time next Thursday night is when the green flag will fly for race number 7. We've got to finish race number 6 here this evening. And Bob Seminara going to go up through the gears, get us back under the green with officially 12 laps to go. .46 of the completed 54 laps under green. Only 2 cautions so far here tonight.
Outside lane isn't fully formed up yet. Jess might have a shot on that inside.
Edges out ahead off of 4. Can the momentum stay on that bottom
Here comes
line?
the third line.
Jess continues to pull ahead. Not quite clear though.
It looked like there was a third line. Now there is.
Now there is. This is going to help the 9 car. She should be clear by the time they get off of turn 2. No, before they even get to the center of 1 and 2 right there. Clear for the top spot. Does she stay to the bottom? Or does she see that middle line moving? She'll move up to the middle. Third line continues to gain numbers. There goes Hewlick. There goes Palmer. Doug Woolley up there in the 99 as well. Paglia on that inside line surges now alongside of Jessica Shelton. And with that third line coming, that middle line's going to get stalled out. Watch for the inside line to gain the momentum here. Big momentum, though, for that outside line. Seminara saw the run coming. He'll move up to the top.
3 wide here. Inside that middle lane is going to die out very quickly.
Jeremy Jeffries in that pink number 1 in that middle groove there. Chuck McClure on the inside line, 4th on the inside line, so a couple of drivers took him a little bit of time to get up here to the front after some misfortunes here tonight. But they're making their way up here towards the top 10. Now McClure into the top 5. Oh, John Godfrey got loose there, almost got into Donnie Garrett. Nice save by last week's winner. That could have very easily been caution number 3. Godfrey sliding into the 6th position. Shelton, that little checkup helped her. She went from the middle down to the bottom, slots into 7th, right in front of Bob Dixon. And now Brian Lovell goes up. Nobody goes with him. Chuck McClure says thank you very much. He'll stick his foot into the door.
Oh, they're getting on the apron back there. There's going to be a wreck.
Oh, it's Josh Metallic in the 39. Keeps it going. We stay green. And we are fast approaching as well, as we do have some lap machines. That point of no return, which would be around lap 62. Only about 3 laps away from that. Of course, for those that don't know what the point of no return is, it'd be where the next flag would end the race. If a caution came out, they would race back. Race would end under yellow. If we got the white flag, obviously we would race back to the checkered flag as well, no matter what. John Godfrey moving up to the outside line with Bob Seminara, Doug Hewlick. They don't really have the momentum as of yet. Now Brian Lovell will try and help them.
The more cars that move up to the outside.
And they got to keep the draft tight as well. It's the only way that that middle line's going to move. And you saw right there, a little side-to-side, little weaving there out of John Godfrey, not able to keep the bumpers lined up all that well. That's not going to help that middle line move forward. Third line further back, Mike Mangialardi trying to make something happen with Randy Waugh.
BG.
Denny Carroll as well, and Greg Lovell, who just got back on the lead lap. Also the lap machine of Jeffrey Elliott. Now that middle line starting to move. Brian Lovell alongside of Chuck McClure for third place. They'll look to get the run here on the straightaway.
If Paglia comes up to block, you're going to really have to.
Looks like he's going to stay committed to the yellow line. Will the 28 of Paglia. That third lane continues to gain numbers now. Oh, wreck in the back! Jim Glaude around, saw another couple of cars. Brian Rawson's facing the wrong way. Late hits for Bobby Farrell and Tom Dixon.
It's race back.
It's race back.
We might get a restart.
I think we're going to. It will be a very short restart. Maybe 2 to go. Oh, Ron Hagelin on the apron. Billy Ellister on the apron. Might wreck coming back to the caution. Oh, they kept it together, though. We've had some really good saves here tonight as well. So a couple of should-have-been cautions that weren't. And Paglia is going to win the battle back to the line over Rodney Sullins. It was close between Brian Lovell and Chuck McClure.
We do have a lap car.
Yes.
So this might be a one-lap shootout.
This was the start of lap 62, completion of lap 61, so I think you might be correct. I think we had this same situation a couple of weeks ago, where it was around the exact same time that a late yellow came out and we ended up having a one-lap dash. Let's go back and see what happened. 72 of Jim Glaude was one of the drivers I saw around. I couldn't make out the other driver that was sideways. And then we know that Brian Rawson, Bobby Farrell, and Tom Dixon were involved also. Maybe a little bumper grab there. The back of the 43 to the 72. There's Brian Rawson facing the wrong way, and then there you see Tom Dixon and Bobby Farrell also getting together. The 6 of Rawson might have been the second car that I saw sideways in turn 2. I don't believe any other drivers, even if they were involved via contact, went around. It was just those 4 cars. Here's a look at it again, right there. That little tap. It was Rawson that I saw going around, and then there you see the 45 and the 92 also making contact. Well, we know nobody's coming to pit road. Everybody was pretty much committed up at the front to run the rest of the way on what they had in the tank. The question now is, how many laps would race leader Mark Paglia have to defend? I think ideally for him, he wants it to be a one-lap shootout. If you end up having a 2-lap shootout, that's enough time for drivers to get up to full song, try to organize a middle line or a third line to try and take the race lead from you. If it's only a 1-lap shootout and you only have to defend for 2.66 miles, you just hold it right down there on the bottom, and I'm not necessarily certain that anybody would be able to form a line quickly enough, certainly wouldn't be able to get up to speed with enough momentum to take the race win from you. We'll see what it's going to be like. We know the lights won't go out this next time by. We're going to have the extra lap of caution for the lap machines, which are Jeffrey Elliott and Tom Dixon, who, if we do end up getting the restart, they'll be back in the lead lap, so all 39 remaining drivers will be on the lead lap for the final restart of the night. Lights will not go out this time, but they will absolutely have to go out the following time around if we are to get at least one lap under green. Oh, referring to last week's football game, Bama versus Georgia Bulldogs. Oh, I get you. I don't watch college football, so I wasn't exactly aware that the two teams played each other. You follow college football, Michael?
No.
No?
Not really.
I'll
mean,
watch
Ohio-
it if there's
Ohio
like nothing
State-
else to watch.
Ohio State, yes, but anything else, no.
The last college football game I watched, and I can't even remember who was actually playing. I think Washington might have been playing, and I don't remember who they were playing against. I watched, I think it was the first half before I went to bed, and it was a competitive game. I think it was like 27 to 20 something. I don't remember what the other team had. I woke up the following day, and both teams, it was still a close score at the end of the night, but both teams were up in the 50s in points scored. It was like, okay, what did I miss in the second half of that game?
Right.
Either the
It's funny how
defenses were really
college-
bad or the quarterbacks were really good.
It's funny how college games can score so many points like in a football game, but
And
the
then
NFL can't.
NFL, you get a 7-3 game.
Exactly.
You know why, Michael? Because when you're in the NFL, you're in the pros, so it's harder to get those points. When you're in college, you're still learning, so a lot of mistakes can be made.
There's also a lot of different rules between college and NFL.
That is also true.
I would love to kind of see. I would love to kind of see the NFL go back to a one season where there's not allowed to have any forward passing, and just see what the games turn out to be like.
They just run the football.
Pretty much, it's just a run the football game. Yeah.
They just every coach has to channel their inner Canute Rockne. Well, actually, no, I can't say that because Canute Rockne invented the forward pass. Anyway. Canute Rockne and George Gipp. Or for you movie buffs, Pat O'Brien and Ronald Reagan. All right, moment of truth. We've got the potential lucky dog drivers pulling up on the outside line, so I guess universally all the drivers are of the belief that we will get the one-lap shootout. As the lights go out, we have one lap to decide it. If they do not go out, Mark Paglia has won this race under caution.
I'm gonna go out on a limb and say I can't believe you just dated yourself by saying Ronald Reagan as an actor instead of
yeah.
a president. Ronald Reagan, the actor? Who's the vice president? Jerry Lewis?
Yes.
That was a Back to the Future reference.
Ronald Reagan was a good actor. I'm trying to think of, what was it? Not Oregon Trail. What was it called? There was one that he was in with Errol Flynn that revolved around the Civil War and John Brown and all that. Can't remember what it was called.
All right, lights out.
There we go. Well, Mark Paglia comes into this race 26th in the point standings. He is a total of 24 points below the cut line. You have to be in the top 20 in the points for a win to count towards a playoff spot. He is only 13 points below that positioning. A win here tonight could be exactly what the doctor ordered for him to be able to march his way into the postseason to compete for a championship. He'll have Rodney Sullins alongside of him. Rodney's 24th in the stands, so both these drivers almost in the exact same situation. Chuck McClure, who was up in the top 5 early on in this thing but was involved in the first caution, has made his way back up here to the front, restarts in 3rd. Brian Lovell in the 4th position. We mentioned he was 20th in points coming into this one, looking for his first career win in the Talladega Challenge Series. And John Godfrey is going to complete the top 5 with Brian Schilling, Bob Seminara, Jessica Shelton, Doug Kulick, and Bob Dixon. That is your top 10. More than likely, it'd have to be in the first 2 or 3 rows with a shot at this thing, since it will only be one lap. And with it being one lap, the green flag and the white flag fly at the same time. We're racing back to the checkers no matter what happens in the span of these 4 corners, the long back straightaway, and the very lengthy tri-oval with the start-finish line over near the entrance of turn 1. Are you ready, Michael?
Yep.
We've been treated to some thrilling last laps here this season, going all the way back to the season opener where we saw Brian Schilling on fumes coast across the start-finish line to pick up the victory. Here tonight, who's going to be the first one back to the stripe? The Ford of Paglia, the Chevy of Rodney Sullins. Flagman has the green flag in hand for the final time, the white flag as well. Getting ready to display it over the hood of these 39 remaining drivers, all on the lead lap. Final lap here at BSR. Denny Carroll tried to time the jump. Moved to the third line. Nobody willing to go with him. Paglia going to edge ahead here through 1 and 2. Now he has to make a decision. Does he stay to the bottom? Does he go to the top?
Outside lane gets a good run, but if they can't clear him, the inside lane will have a good edge in the corner.
You saw right there, midway down the back straightaway, these drivers shifting up to 4th gear, so they've only got about half a lap at full song to make a move. Paglia still clear. He could move high if he wanted to. McClure pushing him. Paglia moves up, tries to stop that momentum. Here comes Sullins. Big run. Paglia on the apron. They're wrecking behind. Sullins edges ahead. It's going to be close between Sullins and Paglia. Oh my gosh. It's like a pinata exploded at the start-finish line. And scoring says it was Paglia in the 28.
That was just like it was for me on Tuesday. And oh my lord, the rest of this field.
It was like simultaneous combustion right there in the middle of the pack. Holy cow. 9 1,000ths. The camera angle, I couldn't tell. I thought through the tri-oval when the wreck occurred, I thought Sullins might have been just barely ahead. But Paglia, scoring says, is going to pick up this victory. Barely holds off Sullins to pick up his first win on the season. And a driver that came into tonight's race out of the playoff picture may have just won his way a trip into the postseason to compete for the championship.
If we go back and look at this wreck,
oh, we will. We will.
What? That was a very impressive way for that 9 car to get 6th place. Literally sliding sideways, holding the whole field behind her.
The ultimate block. Well, you know how in football, when you end up having 2 people that tackle the quarterback, they give you a half sack each? I say there's always one that ends up wrecking the race winner. We're going to give a half to Jessica Shelton and a half to Billy Elliser on that one right there. That's Mark Paglia going to bring it down here to the start-finish line, and the celebration will begin for the number 28 Motorcraft Ford. You can see right behind on the back bumper on the right side of the Motorcraft logo, the number 54 Robbie Nice's tribute decal. Paglia picked up a victory last year in the second half of the season. I believe it was during the playoffs, not competing for the championship. But here tonight, he may be heading to that championship battle in 3 weeks' time now, is backing it right up there to the blue pit wall, and he'll start doing the celebration down there as well. This may be a lengthy burnout for the Quality Care Ford Thunderbird. And I thought he was going to a la Alan Kulwicki do a Polish victory lap. Well, wait, maybe we're doing another burnout here? Turns it back around. He'll be heading to victory lane in just a moment. We will also in just a moment show you your finishing results. But first, we're going to go back and take a look at that replay. Oh, here we go. Now we got the Polish victory lap. As Mark Paglia in front of the fans here at Burnt Screwdrivers Raceway going to celebrate this victory here tonight. Let's go back to that replay, and where do we start? I mean, I saw a few drivers around there towards the front of the field. The 043 was around. I think the 712 might have been around. Let's start with the 043, I guess, of Brian Lovell. Brian Schilling, and oh my gosh. I mean, at that point in time, nobody's lifting. We're coming back to the checkers. Nobody's going to lift and give up spots. They see the wreck. They're going to keep their foot in the throttle and hope that they improve their finishing position. But the impact there, my gosh. You talked about the Nia Jessica Shelton was running around 7th or 8th here through the tri-oval. Little tap from behind by Bob Dixon, and then look at that. She catches air. Jeremy Jeffries catches air. Greg Palmer's on his roof. Doug Woolley got airborne. There's Kelly Causey. He's still wrecking. Catches the grass there. Turns back around onto all four wheels. Massive pile up here coming to the checkered flag. We'll have to see what the fallout of it all was in terms of who finished where. 28 of Mark Paglia right there goes down on the apron. I thought at that point in time he had lost this race because that is a tremendous amount of momentum lost when you get down on that apron. And we'll try and see here. Bernie Mobbs took a wild ride there on the left side of your screen, the 31. We'll try and get a still shot of them at the start-finish line and show you exactly what 9 thousandths of a second looks like. But this is almost like Dale Jr.'s car graveyard down here on the inside of Turn 1 after the fallout there of that wreck. See if we can get you a freeze frame of Mark Paglia versus Rodney Sullins. As I said, visibly, I thought it might end up being Rodney Sullins that would get the win. But Paglia had just enough momentum. He also still had his drafting partner behind him, too, in Chuck McClure. Rodney had lost his drafting partner when Brian Lovell went around, and here's a look at it. That's how close it was, folks. About maybe a wheel right there. Paglia over Sullins, with Chuck McClure bringing it home on the podium. And we'll be talking with those top three finishers in just a moment. Here's a look at how the rest of them crossed the start-finish line. Some of them on their wheels, some of them sideways, some of them up in the air. Seminara's going to get 4th. Doug Kulik going to get a top 5 in 5th. Jessica Shelton in 6th. Jeremy Jeffries battled back for 7th. Graham McDonald, I don't think we talked about the 33 hardly at all tonight. Good run in the top 10 for 8th. Mike Mangialardi in 9th, and Randy Waugh is going to complete the top 10. Greg Palmer was 11th, Ken Roberts 12th, Josh Metallic 13th, Donnie Garrett and Tim Knopfsker, your top 15. Bob Dixon, Greg Lovell, Doug Woolley, Robert Breedlove, and Ron Hagelin, the pole sitter, finished your top 20. A little bit further down here, drivers that did not benefit from that wreck, lost a lot of track position and finishing results, including Joe DeSpirito finishing in 28th, Kelly Causey finishing 29th. Brian Schilling, who came into this race the points leader, crosses the line in the 35th position. He's been leading the points really the entire season after winning the season opener at Talladega. And it may be the first time this season he will not be in P1 in the points heading into Talladega next week. And some other drivers that were involved in wrecks that finished towards the back there. Brian Rawson, Glenn Harris. I believe those two drivers, I think they spun out before the start-finish line and crawled across the start-finish line. Two drivers that did not reach the conclusion. Jeff Crivello, Jason Scheck, they finished 39th and 40th position. Well, as we head into our FRN post-race wind-down, let's see if we can dial up the drivers that brought it home in 1st, 2nd, and 3rd here this evening. Let's kick things off with the driver that brings it home in that 3rd position. See if we can dial up Chuck McClure.
User was moved.
Hey, Chuck,
to
Michael
your
and Seth
channel.
up here in the FRN booth. You got us?
How you doing, guys?
I'll tell you, a little bit of a up and down night for you. Had a strong car in the opening stages of this race, up inside solidly the top three, top four. Looked like you and your teammates had the race pretty well in hand, but then involved in that first caution, had to spend the second half getting back up there to the front. How much of a struggle was it?
It was not easy. I was driving mad. I didn't think I needed to be back there. It happens, but for the time being, I was not happy, and I needed to get out of the back. I knew I did.
We had that final one lap shootout there. Obviously, based off of the running order, you were on that inside line. Was it just full commit to the 28? Was there anything you saw where you might have been able to make a move to get this win for yourself? I mean, obviously, things broke up quite a bit there when we had that big wreck through the tri-oval, but not sure if that might have been enough time for you to be able to make a move or make something happen.
Right. It had to be full commit because the outside was so tight, and the two guys that got first and second. How about them guys, man? They deserve it. They needed a good run. Rodney, Mark. I'm very pleased to be behind those guys. If I had to finish behind anybody, but I had nowhere else to go. I had to shove the 28, and I was getting shoved as well.
Now we've talked to you a couple of weeks ago, and obviously you want to get to victory lane, you want to get that win to automatically lock yourself in. Coming into this, obviously, as the defending champion as well. But looking big picture racing here tonight, Brian Schilling, first little hiccup that four car has had, finishing down outside of the top 30. You came into this one only 19 points back, and obviously going to have some really good points at the conclusion of this one with the top three finish. I mean, I know that's obviously the win is still on the docket, but with two races remaining, does that make that regular season championship kind of start to climb up to priority number one as well?
Yeah, I think it does. Everybody wants to be the champ. It would be really cool to be the regular season champ. Hadn't done that in a long time, but um, again, the guys that's leading it are they're very very tough to beat, and they're also teammates. So whatever happens happens. But it'd be cool if I was to get the season championship.
Well, two races still left to go. Another shot here at BSR in the regular season finale in a couple of weeks' time. And of course, Talladega next week. Obviously, we know that you got a fast race car every single week. Sometimes it depends on how quickly we see at the front with that random qualifying draw. It was kind of your friend here tonight, I think. Had you up inside of the top 15 and 13th place, but obviously we look forward to seeing what you're able to do here. Looking to defend that championship crown here in season 63 in these final two races in preparation for the playoffs. Before I let you go, Chuck, floor is yours for thank you, sponsors, and shoutouts.
First off, I want to thank everybody that's made it possible for you guys to be able to do the broadcast. Those guys are awesome. I don't know exactly who they are right now, but I know we couldn't do it without them and you. All the admins here for, Race LM is down, unfortunately. Of course, they're the title sponsor on the car. So, and Rodney for painting up a beautiful car, and yeah, all the admins and everybody that shows up here to make this the best place to race.
As Chuck McClure brings home third place here tonight, Burnt Screwdrivers Raceway. He will head into next week's race, now second in the point standings, in really close proximity to that points lead. We'll see if maybe he can get it next week and maybe get that couple positions better as well in the finishing results in victory lane. Best of luck on the remainder of this regular season, Chuck. Congrats on the great run here tonight.
Appreciate it, guys.
Let's see if we can dial up the driver that
User
came
was
up
moved
just
out of your
nine
channel.
thousandths of a second short of picking up his first victory on the season. Let's get a hold of Rodney Sullins.
User was moved
Hey, Rodney,
to your
Michael is
channel.
set up here in the FRM booth. You got us?
What's happening, fellas?
Oh, man, I'll tell you what. I thought for a brief moment there with the wrecking behind you guys through the trial with a 28 down the apron, it looked like for a moment visibly to me you were just edged out ahead. How did you lose the time? How did he gain the time there in that couple 100 feet? Because it looked like it was going to be absolute dead even between you two.
Yeah, 9 thousandths of a second. That's hard. I think that's what it was. When the wreck happened, it took my pusher immediately, and I don't know how much Chuck was able to push Mark there right at the end, but I guess it was just enough having him at least behind him, because I thought well, I was fixing to pull it off until I seen Brian disappear in my mirror, and thanks Brian Lovell for pushing me that last lap, sticking with me. I mean, he was telling me, "Let's go, let's go, let's go." So we tried, but it's good to have a good finish.
It's been a while since we've seen a one-lap shootout here. We retreated to a one-lap shootout at Talladega a couple of weeks ago, and I'm going to be asking the same question to Mark, who was on the inside for that restart. You were on the outside, so what kind of a strategy are you formulating at that point in time? Because I already pointed out the fact you guys have to wait until midway down the backstretch before you even shift into the high fourth gear where draft and momentum starts coming into play. So that only leaves you about half the racetrack to be able to make something happen. Uh, what kind of strategy are you formulating in your head? What kind of checklist are you kind of having there to make absolutely certain that that middle line is able to stay with the inside line and still give you a shot at this thing when you guys come back around to the stripe?
In my opinion, BSR, it's literally what's happening behind you. The inside guy can win the race in a one lap shootout, and the guy on the outside can win it. It's literally. I mean, you've seen how close we were. It just literally comes down to the guys pushing you. I wish there was a secret to it because I'd like to know it. But Chuck did a great job pushing Mark. Brian did a great job pushing me, and then when that wreck happened, like I say, he disappeared, and I think that's what cost it. But I didn't know, Seth. I was sitting there thinking, well, I'm done. I'm starting on the outside line. But then I remembered we're at this track, and sometimes, like it kind of did coming out of 4, it seems to build that momentum back, and that's what was happening. And it's close, man. It's a little disheartening, but I'm happy to be up here. Really,
Disheartening, obviously. I know you wanted that victory, but the silver lining in that gray cloud is the fact that you needed a good run coming in tonight. We documented you were 24th in points coming into this evening. The tallying of the point standings after tonight now puts you 13th in the points, only 1 point below that cut line. I mean, obviously you wanted that one position better, but how important was it for your season to get this podium finish here tonight with only 2 races now remaining in the regular season?
Oh, absolutely, 100% important. Because I've missed one race, and then I think I've had a couple of races to where I've wound up on my roof and finished in the 30s. It's been a tough season, but to be having a chance to make the chase, that would be great. But tonight was, a win, obviously, and I'm good. I think I could hold in the top 20, but I'm happy to be where I'm at. I feel good about where I'm at, and just hopefully can put 2 more decent races together.
Well, Rodney, a great performance for you here tonight is documented. Put you in good shape to try and at least point your way into the playoffs, but maybe in the next couple weeks we'll see you get that one position better and lock yourself in via a win. We come back here in 2 weeks' time, might be able to maybe edge somebody out in a photo finish on the winning side in the regular season finale. But great run for you here tonight. Second place performance. Before we let you go, floor is yours for thank you, sponsors, and shoutouts.
Well, obviously, I want to thank Flatout Racing Network, you and Michael, for doing what you do. I can't wait to go back and watch and listen to the race. Obviously, RTG, Seth, and Bones, Seth, um, Prime and Bones for everything that they do, because they've been working their tail off to keep this up and running for us. Jeremy Jeffries, all that he's been doing, and of course, all the admins, Josh and Tim for tonight, but all the admins across all the series. Thank all you guys. I appreciate it, doing everything that you've been doing. Congrats to Paglia, man, Mark. It was great. I enjoyed that. I'd like to have beat you, but I'm glad you won. You've been donating to keep this going. You and Donnie Garrett and Ultimate Garage Floors, Race LM, Bob and Tom Dixon. Thank you guys. I don't know if I'll get to put this thing to be up here again, but John Godfrey painted my Wrangler car. It's going to be rolling out on the track next week. So thank you, John. I appreciate that. My Brian Lovell again, Chuck, good job finishing third. My Burnt Screwdrivers Racing teammates, my dad out there watching. Sure, he was probably chatting with you at some point. Love you, my Burnt Screwdrivers Racing teammates. Black Rifle Coffee, Habana Brisa. Congrats, Michael. I think you won Tuesday night. Seth, thank you for letting me race with your team. We're still missing Wiley, still missing Robbie. Thanks, guys. Appreciate everybody.
That's Rodney Sullins, brings home second place here tonight at Burnt Screwdrivers Raceway, and he'll look to keep this momentum going in these final 2 races of the regular season, looking to make his way back into the playoffs. Best of luck there on that, Rodney, and congratulations on the great run here tonight.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate you.
User was moved out of
And
your
let's see
channel.
if we can dial up tonight's race winner, who now jumps up to 15th in the overall points, so currently in a playoff spot. Let's get a hold of Mark Paglia.
User was moved
Mark,
to
it's
your
Michael and
channel.
Seth up here in the FRM booth. You got us?
I sure do. What's going on, young guy?
I'll tell you what, you're going on right now. Getting that checkered flag, locking yourself up a spot in the playoffs at this point in time. You know, we talked about a lot of drivers coming into tonight that weren't necessarily in must-win situations, but they needed a good points night. Kind of mired down in the mid-20s in the point standings. You came into this one, I believe it was 26th in the points. You get this victory. You're now locked in. I mean, this has got to be a huge weight off of your shoulders here with these final 2 races coming up now.
Holy cow! No kidding. I I had Tim Nasker on private, and I just said I got to get a win if I have a even a slim chance of getting in the playoffs, and now that just takes the world, the weight, like you said, weight off of my shoulders. Now I can just go out there and race and have fun until the playoffs.
So I asked this of Rodney. That one lap shootout looks like pretty much everybody knew it was going to be one lap to decide it all. You're on the inside line. There were a couple of opportunities where you could have moved up and blocked the momentum on that inside line. Did you have a strategy already in place where you were staying fully committed to the yellow line, and whatever happened to drivers right happened to drivers right? You were just going to rely on the fact the momentum was going to stay on the bottom?
Yeah, I had a good feeling that the third line was going to form. Somebody was going to jump up there, and then that always takes the second line away. So I had Chuck McClure on my private, and he said, "Buddy, I'm with you all the way." And said, "Okay, I'm going to stay here, and we'll lock up and go." And I know he had, I think, Seminara behind him, and I think Bob is a great pusher too. I think we got a little tangled up there at the tail end. I don't know exactly what happened, but you know, Chuck got into me a little bit, got me on the apron. I still could recover, so that it worked out.
Yeah, we got to say great safety there because, yeah, that was very nearly a win thrown away if that 28 wasn't able to keep pointing in the right direction with you getting down there on the apron. Let's talk now about the upcoming 2 races. I mean, as I mentioned, the fact that you're now 15th in the point stands, you have to, if you're not inside the top 12 in points, you have to stay in the top 20 in the standings. So, what's the goal here for these final 2 races? Are you just looking for the consistent run to stay above that 20th standings cut line? Are you looking to get the finishes that will get you up into the top 12 in the points? Because we know there's actually some points payout as well if you're up in any of those positions at regular season's end. Or are you looking maybe next week to be the first multi-time winner on the season? Because so far, 6 races in the books, 6 different drivers have gone to victory lane. Nobody's been able to really cash in on the extra bonus points for multi-wins in the regular season.
Yeah, I think I'm going to have the same strategy. I tried tonight. I started 20th, and I just wanted to stay in the top 10. And luckily, I was able to stop top 5, 4 throughout most of the race. And my pit stops were clean, and I pitted with some really good people that could pit well, which is always a plus. So I just wanted to stay clean, stay up towards the front, because I know a lot of craziness happens in the back. People get desperate. So that's going to be my strategy. I'm going to, no matter where I start, I'm just going to try to get up in the top 10, be safe, and not necessarily go for a win, to make it a desperate move at the end. But if I can get a second win in a row, that'll be another plus on my calendar for me.
Well, quite late in this regular season, but wins still are important in gaining spots in the standings, up 11 spots with the victory here tonight from 26th to 15th in overall points, and just outside of that chase cut line as well to point your way in regards to the checkered flag here this evening. Mark, I'll let you get back to your celebrating there in victory lane, but before we
Okay.
do, though, we'll give you the opportunity for some thank you sponsors and shout outs.
Well, thank yous to obviously with Chuck McClure, he was behind me, pushing me, and Greg Palmer and Rodney. I worked with them. You probably saw towards that one span in the race where Jessica moved up and she was in front of me on the low line. She moved up, and Rodney was right there to push me and get me out in front. That was really a big help. So shout out to Rodney and Greg Palmer and Chuck and especially for Josh and all the admins that put on a great show here. And you and Michael do a great job. I always appreciate watching this the next day. Gives me some interesting TV to watch because there's not much else on TV. So watching FRN on TV on my TV is something I look forward to the next day.
Well, Mark Paglia, he knows he's going to be going playoff racing in a couple of weeks. He takes the checkered flag here tonight in race number 6 of the Talladega Challenge Series at Burnt Screwdrivers Raceway. Congratulations on the win. Go and enjoy it. Best of luck here down the home stretch in preparation for the postseason.
All right. Thank you, Brother Seth. Michael, have a good night, guys.
Mark Paglia becomes the
User
6th different driver in 6 races to go to victory lane. Not a long winless streak for him, as we documented. He won late last year, so not the lengthy winless streak that we've had the last couple of weeks, but nonetheless, we talk about drivers in super speedway racing that are struggling, a little under the radar. We don't see them up inside of the top 10, top 12 in the point standings. We're kind of thinking, where are they? Mark Paglia, it's not been the easiest season, was down in the mid-20s in the point standings, and all it takes is that one checkered flag to turn the season around. He's now got himself in the conversation for this championship here when we eventually put the playoff grid together in about 3 weeks' time.
Should definitely be interesting, Seth. I can't wait for this.
And again, tremendous credit to Jeremy Jeffries during the course of this post-race wind down. Hard at work getting the point standings in for us to be able to give you the outlook in preparation for next week's 7th race at Talladega Superspeedway. And we mentioned about Brian Schilling finishing 35th here tonight, coming in as the points leader. He now drops to 4th in points. Jeremy Jeffries moves to the new points lead, only 5 points in hand over tonight's 3rd place finisher Chuck McClure. Bob Seminara moves up to 3rd. He's 11 points out, and Schilling, who dropped to 4th, is now 19 points out of the points lead. 5 of our previous 6 winners this season are inside the top 12 in points. Paglia, the only one outside of the top 12, but he is 15th in the point standings, and he will head into next week 15 points above the 20th in the standings cut line. So that's what things currently look like as far as potential playoff drivers for this season. Still a lot of drivers hovering around that cut line. I believe there's only about 10 points separating 10th in the standings down to around 18th in points. So there could be a lot of moving parts and pieces in that regard in the next couple of weeks. Drivers trying to point and or win their way into a playoff position. But it will continue next Thursday night, as we will continue on the 63rd season of the RTG Talladega Challenge Series. Talladega Superspeedway, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Hope you guys will join us for that one. Congratulations to Mark Paglia on his victory here tonight. And Michael, appreciate you joining me up here in the booth for another thrilling finish tonight. A one-lap dash under the lights at BSR.
Absolutely. It was fun to be here. Can't wait for next time.
Absolutely. Appreciate everybody that tuned in to our coverage here tonight. Hope you guys enjoyed it. And we will see you guys next Thursday night for the continuation of the Rolling Thunder Gaming Talladega Challenge Series. For Michael Norman, I'm Seth Cole. We'll see you guys next week as you've been watching another broadcast courtesy of FRN, the Flatout Racing Network.
This broadcast is the copyrighted work of Flatout Racing Network and may not be rebroadcast, retranslated, or used in any form without the express written consent of Flatout Racing Network and iRacing.com Motorsports Simulations. Flatout Racing Network would like to thank you for your support, and we hope you enjoyed